Welcome to MBA with Ash. You'll hear honest tips and advice. You'll find out what it's really like to study an MBA, prepare for it, and the unique challenges you may face. You'll hear from graduates and students who have come to study their MBA in England from all over the world. So get ready to listen to MBA with Ash. So I'm going to share my honest journey about why I chose to do an MBA. I have wanted to do an MBA for many years, at least 8 years. I always loved the idea of doing this particular course because it is seen as a really high standard of leadership and management and development all over the world. And I felt that for me, doing that course would help to self-actualize in a sense. In fact, in terms of wanting to do this MBA, I have been to over 6 open days at Newcastle University in the past, attending twice a year in some instances, and also at other institutions, Northumbria University. I looked at Manchester, Cambridge, Harvard, Stanford, other countries in Europe, INSEAD in France, which is a brilliant institution. And for me, I just knew that this was a goal that I would really want to do at some point. And actually, I achieved that a lot earlier than I thought I would. I thought I would maybe do my MBA around 36, but I got to it at 31, which I'm really excited about. I think it's really important if you're going to do an MBA to think about the right timing for you. So for me, I am a woman. At some point, I would like to have a family, and that's really important to me. And I think doing an MBA now is ideal because it gives me the chance to spend all of my time and energy and effort in a place concentrating really hard. When you do an MBA, it's almost like being thrown into a pressure cooker. You're meeting a lot of different people from a lot of cultures, a lot of different walks of life, and you do a lot of group work. So you are constantly growing, and every day is a huge transformational opportunity. So it's really easy to feel tired because you're putting so much energy into this program. And so for me, I think the sacrifice is opportunity cost of earnings for a year. It's quite a big thing to take a year out and not be earning much. But also financially, the cost of tuition, cost of textbooks, cost of international trips or anything else connected with it. So I would say certainly financial sacrifice is a very key element, but also things like the energy. So trading maybe sleep and energy sometimes to be able to keep up with your assignments or your workload, and also friends and family. So I do try and see my friends and family at least once a fortnight, and that seems really infrequent, but it's quite hard when you're juggling multiple assignments. So I think there's definitely, before I started my MBA, a few people said to me that they call it the divorce course. And I don't know how well circulated that is. Some people might listen to this and go, what on earth are you talking about? Who says that? But there were previous alumni who had said to me, be careful because you do have to put time and energy into your relationship and your friendships. But also there were people who said to me, you know what, just tell your friends and family that you're going to be busy this year. So I did set that expectation with my friends. I was really clear. I'm not going to be around as much. And actually that was great. And I found it much easier being transparent about it. And in terms of the divorce course, that's definitely not the case for me. I've got a very supportive husband who's an angel. So I think as long as you ask for help and you surround yourself with people who believe in you and who can cope with you when you have a meltdown, which I have every time there's an assignment due, you'll be fine. Trying to decide about doing an MBA versus other courses was quite a tricky choice. So there's a lot of courses out there all over the world. If I look at Newcastle University specifically, when I thought about doing a master's in business administration, the reason I chose that particular course is because I still feel that it's really relevant in a modern world, and also in a very quick changing dynamic world where we often don't know what's going on. And I think an MBA gives you the skills to deal with a lot of difficult situations. It also includes a lot of different subjects. So in some cases, it's called a generalist degree, a generalist management master's. And so you're looking at economics and accounting and program and project management and leadership and cultural change and motivation of people and things like that. So you do get quite a broad spread of subject knowledge. And I think as well, for me, the one challenging course, there were two actually that I would have really wanted to do. So one was at Northumbria University, which is where I did my undergraduate leadership and management degree. So they're actually one of my alma maters. But I wanted to do managing creative events, which was something about working in creative industries and creative events. So that was a master's that I wanted to do. They also do a master's in public relations, which is a consideration, master's in events. So also a master's in interior design or fashion were really interesting to me, anything that had creative in it. So it's really curious to me that I chose an MBA, because at Newcastle University, where I chose to study, the course that I did go for was the MBA. But the one strong contender for me was innovation, management and creativity, or something along those lines. I really liked the idea of the creative industries. I feel like doing what I'm doing with an MBA is great because I have so much creative interest outside of uni that I'm able to explore that in my day-to-day and then focus on upskilling in class. So the reason that I set up this podcast and decided to do an MBA with Ash series is because when I started looking at doing my MBA, although I'd been to so many different open days and I've read blogs and I even looked for books, I found that there just wasn't the information that really reached me on a level that I could understand. What I mean by that is there were either people saying you don't need an MBA, or there were people who were very, very academically focused and were speaking in very academic terms. And I wanted to know everything, like what kind of equipment do you need? Do you need a laptop for every day? What should you wear to class? Will you have business visits? Who should you meet when you're there? How should you engage in these situations? Should you have business cards? Lots of simple questions like that, which I really think there is an opportunity for people to learn that sort of thing. So that's why I decided to do a podcast actually on this subject, so that anyone who's thinking about doing an MBA, wherever it is in the world, at whatever institution, they have some real practical experience of what they'll be doing. So certainly doing an MBA for me has been brilliant. But in terms of tips, I would say it's really important to make sure that you always have your laptop and charge it. Always have extra cables, so for your phone or anything like that, because often you'll be in class really long days, might need to go to the library. You'll be doing a lot of group work, so being able to access electricity is really important. And I think as well, having notebooks in case your laptop does die or anything like that. You're learning so quickly, you don't want to miss anything. Something other colleagues do is they have things like iPads or other digital tools to take notes. So that's really cool as well. I think a lot of people gave me gifts before I started my MBA, which was really nice. And I think that symbolized the start of a new journey. So it was almost like, congratulations, you got onto this course. We're really proud of you. Here's a gift. And that was really helpful. So I would say that if anyone were to do that for you or ask what you need, vouchers for textbooks or stationery is a really good one. And I think tips, just enjoy it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a hard year, but approach it with a positive attitude. Everything is a learning opportunity. Especially when things don't go well, those are your opportunities to grow. So if you ever get knocked, just remember this is just teaching you how to rise. So if I think about my MBA so far, and the biggest learning opportunity is actually, it's been finance and accounting. and economics and global politics. So those modules have been very challenging for me. They're not my usual areas, and I've had to work really hard on concentrating in those classes. I would say it's been the greatest learning opportunity because it's the biggest area of growth. So as an entrepreneur, I've got my own startup. The biggest lessons I've learned about my startup that are in a classroom have been finance and how I should be running my accounts and how investment decisions are made. So if I ever want to pitch for something or seek a capital investment at a later stage, I'll know how those decisions are made. And actually, it's helped me to make some big changes in my own processes for my own business. So I would certainly say the accounting and finance, economics and politics stuff. Just to showcase how much I dislike these subjects, I did my accounting exam and walked out and vomited straight away. So I think I can say that although it's not my greatest area, I'm very proud to define myself as a creative. I think that being aware of these things is a super important business skill and tool to be able to use. So I wouldn't have been able to overcome this fear of accounting and numbers without a positive attitude and mindset. And actually, I'm really pleased to say that one of my assignments for accounting, I got an 80, which is an incredible grade. It's the highest grade you can get for an MBA. So for me, that was a huge achievement. And actually, sometimes I realize that the stories we tell ourselves really matter, and sometimes we can do much better than we think we're doing. I think the biggest challenge during this course, and it's certainly something I want to share honestly, and I'll be speaking to all my guests about their challenges, is that for me, I think mental health is a struggle, and it always will be. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, which is something that I didn't ask for. It came to me in life through traumatic experiences. And for the most part, I cope really well. But there are some times where, depending on how well things are going in my life, things can be great. And other times, during times of high stress, I can really struggle. So, for example, if I'm in a group or in classes where I have colleagues who are a bit more intimidating or a different nature to me, that can be quite triggering or difficult. So I've had to work really hard on that. And actually, it's helped me to grow as a person because I've been able to think about what kind of business leader I want to be. And actually, if I want to be a leader, then I need to face those tough fears and grow a bit of extra skin. So that's a big learning opportunity and area of growth for me. I have to say as well, asking for help is important. And the university I go to, Newcastle University, has a fantastic student wellbeing team. So I occasionally check in with them just to let them know how I'm doing and get support where I need to. So that's a big help. And I think as well, the biggest challenge and the one that I'm really frustrated with myself about is I work better at the last minute, but I also have something called Impostor Syndrome, which, if you don't know what that is, it's this feeling of being caught out. So with some of the subject matter that we're studying, sometimes I feel like, wow, what am I even doing in this classroom? Everyone around me is so much smarter than me. They're going to realize, and I shouldn't be here. And that's exactly how I felt when I got that really good grade, is I thought, well, is this my work? They're just being nice. Why did I get this work? I actually clicked refresh 5 times on that assignment mark to make sure it was my work. I even logged out twice as well and logged back in to make sure it was my mark. So it is marked anonymously, so it's not favoritism or anything like that. And so I was able to realize that actually I did work hard on that project. And I think the greatest challenge for me is because I have this sense of fear. Sometimes it means I can procrastinate or I can really struggle to get started on things, which means there's a lot of pressure at the last minute, and I thrive off that pressure. But that means that every time I've got an assignment due, I spend it in tears, thinking I'm a failure, thinking I can't do it. And I have to really talk to myself through that. So I think that's the challenge, is actually learning to behave in a different way and doing lots of hard work on yourself, holding yourself accountable for your actions. A good example of that is for one of my assignments, I handed it in half an hour late, and that will have huge ramifications on my overall grade. And I'm going to have to work really hard the rest of the year to make sure that I get the merit that I'm hoping for. So I do think that, it's an MBA for anyone is a challenge, but I think the biggest challenge is the hard work you have to do as you transform through that year. So a question that we get often when we go on company visits or when we are in classes with our lecturers or speaking to our careers team each week, we always get asked, what's next? What's next after the MBA? What are you hoping to do? And that can be really scary, and it can be a challenge because it's a big world out there and it's hard to know what you'll want to do. For me, I really want to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I am one. But I really want to embrace that and continue to do some amazing work with great communities, brilliant creative events. So that is my number one goal, is to do something creative and to do something with people. So I don't know how that's going to work yet. I love podcasting, which is why I've made a new show. And I would love somehow to... If I'm going to work with a company again, it needs to be something that I'm really good at and that where we would both benefit from me being there. And I think it would need to be somewhere really dynamic and fun and vibrant. And actually, we did recently go to a really cool business. I'll not give them a shout out because if I do, then I think it'll be seen a little bit too much. But it was so cool. It was a really young company, very marketing, sales focused, but it was just the spirit of the company and the way they do things just felt really authentic, and it had a really nice family feel. So I think for me, it's a big world out there, and I definitely want to do something entrepreneurial, and we'll just have to watch this space. So that's me. Thanks for listening. I do want to say that if you want any more information, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I do have a website, MBA with Ash, where you can find out previous blogs, podcasts, and stories about how my MBA is going, top tips on things you might need or you might want to consider when you're studying. And it would be great to connect with you. Thank you. Today's podcast has been made available through the kind sponsorship of TL Multimedia and That Branding Company.